Welcome to Love Letters and Books, a podcast for anyone who loves a good story. This is a soft space to explore romance and books where no topic is too taboo. I'm your host, Casey, and this week I'm sitting down with author Allie Roberts to talk all things cowboy romance. Allie and I love this genre, and we put together a list of our favorite authors and books. We're talking small towns, ranch life, country living, and Yellowstone dark antiheroes, all anchored in themes of found family, devotion, and happily ever afters. Not to mention the rustic settings, the dream ranches, and the wild rodeos. And as usual, when Allie and I get together, we venture completely off the rails, and in this episode, we also end up talking about everything else under the sun. So expect some great book recommendations, a lot of laughter, and an update about Allie's latest book, After Hours, and where she is with her next book in the series. Allie, welcome back to the Love Letters and Books podcast. I am so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thanks. Nice to be here again.
Why, when you and I open these episodes together, why do we sound so formal? Today it's like I have brought you into the principal's office. Meanwhile,
You're here. Do you know why you're here today? Just want to check
do
if
you
you
know what you did? We all saw you. We've called your parents. So anyway, welcome to everyone who's joining us, because we are here to talk about a very particular topic today that we are really excited about. We are here to talk about cowboy romance. And I'm so excited that you're here doing this with me, Allie. Actually, what I was going to tell you when we first signed on was that this was the highlight of my week. It was on my calendar, and it was the thing that got me through my week, which was fairly unpleasant, by the way. And I was like, no, but I get to talk to Allie on Thursday. I'm so excited. So I hope you know that even though you are in trouble and you're in the principal's office to talk about cowboy romance, that I was looking forward to it all week. So
Yeah, me too. Honestly, and do you know what? I feel like what's really cool about this is that we have you who's grown up in, you've had a lot of experience with like the real life side, and you have me. I grew up in the suburbs in the UK. I don't know anything about the reality, and I don't particularly want to, but like I don't want to live it. I want to read it. So we've got two very opposing perspectives.
we're not going to live it today, Allie. And I do want to state for the record, I am a New York City girl born and raised, but I have a roaming spirit and I have lived everywhere. So when we were planning this episode, I was sharing with Allie that several times in my life, I have moved to Wyoming. Not just once, multiple times.
Okay.
I think 3 times I've moved to Wyoming, Jackson Hole. So part of that is that I also lived next door to the Jackson Hole Rodeo. So this was a huge part of my experience of living there, and part of my job while I lived out there was I would have to travel all over rural Wyoming, just middle of the nowhere, like something you would see on sort of that show Yellowstone, just in the mountains. And so that is really setting the tone for today. But the truth is, I live in Southern California, and I go to the rodeos here, and they are not like rodeos in these books. These are like Southern California beach rodeos, which are very specific and unique. And I really wish you were coming to visit America, because I would love to bring you to one.
I really did, because like I said, we were planning to go to America. We were going to go to Texas this year, but one of the things I really wanted to do was a rodeo. Really wanted to go to a rodeo, but I think we'll go soon, but it just maybe not this year.
Or maybe everything is going to shift and happen, and you'll be here right on time for the Pismo Beach Rodeo, where people ride horses through the ocean, dragging people on surfboards. I will send you a video as soon as we're done. No. You've never been to a rodeo until you've been to a Southern California rodeo. And anyone listening to this can make fun of me. It's totally fine, but it's just a really unique experience. And I want that for you. And I really want you to come visit and have that particular experience.
Wow.
But let's get on track. Let's be where our feet are, so to speak, and talk about One, Allie, why do you love cowboy romance?
I've thought about this a lot the last few weeks, actually. And I do have what I think is going to be a divisive reason. I'm not sure how people are going to take this, but as a non-American perspective, okay, I think cowboy Western is very romanticized. And I think that a cowboy husband is he's what we were promised as a trad husband. As if I was to be a trad wife, a cowboy is what I would want as a trad husband. And that comes with like loyalty, devotion. He works so hard and then he comes home and he's still got time for you. And, you know, I appreciate that that's actually probably not the reality. But in a cowboy romance, it's a very traditional man. You know, he's working for the family. He provides food for the table. Like, and you have your trad wife who, not in all the books, because obviously there's lots of different stories and lots of different roles for the FMCs, but traditionally, I think the idea of it is that you're like homemaking and it's romanticized and it's so nice. And you'll have like a pickling session and you just pickle things. And I kind of love it. Like, I don't want to do it all the time.
Is that what we're calling it these days? A pickling session?
The pickling session where you just get a load of stuff and you pickle it.
Yes.
And I like the idea of it sometimes. When life gets hard, I'm like, God, wouldn't it be nice to just pickle a load of stuff and just let the man worry about everything? Like, I don't have to worry. So this is why it's divisive, because obviously then my alternate personality sets in and it's like, I'm not fucking pickling things for the rest of my life. Not a chance.
No,
I
you're
don't want
not.
to do that.
You
No.
are not.
So I like that cowboy romances have FMCs that do whatever they want, really. Like, it doesn't really aspire to that particular gender role. However, the men do have the gender role. And it's a very specific gender role where they provide and they work hard all the time. And the FMC just gets to do what she wants. She could, you know, run her own boot company or like, you know, be a publicist and she's still acting like she's in New York. Like, we'll get to that later. But like, I like that. The FMCs have a lot of range and the men don't. I think that's...
Oh, I love that perspective. No, I'm glad you brought this up. I know we're kind of giggling, but I actually really like that perspective.
Yeah.
And I am glad you mentioned it because I was wondering, why do I like it? And I definitely, obviously, having grown up when I did in the United States, that was part of my childhood, was watching Little House on the Prairie and Bonanza and shows like that with my grandpa and just these Westerns and sort of the mythology and the lore, which is mythology, a lot of it, because the reality, as we know with history, is quite different. But I also grew up reading like Louis L'Amour books and just loving that, and then feeling a pull to moving to those places and just having not that experience, but a different experience than I grew up with. And I'm also a big believer that fantasy is healthy, that our brains need a little escape, that we don't only have to enjoy something that is brutally real and that we've experienced. We can kind of just escape for a little bit and not sacrifice our entire selves. So I love that you shared that. I know my personality. I know I don't want a daily pickling session on the front porch. I know that. But I also know that when I've had a really stressful day at work and people are talking about spreadsheets and I'm in 17 meetings back to back through the computer screen, like the idea of waking up on my family ranch and going horseback riding sounds amazing.
Yeah, like getting a...
I feel like that's okay to say.
Grass. I need to go touch grass and I need to get on a horse and look at some stars.
Exactly.
And in my fantasy, there's no bugs. And I don't get dirty.
I mean, that's a good fantasy. If you're going to pick some things, not getting dirty and no bugs, high on the list. I absolutely get that. Yeah. Well, I feel like we've really set the stage. And I think that even if someone is not a huge fan of cowboy romance, they can understand where we're coming from. That this is really about gentle, beautiful escapism. And you and I came up with a list that is fairly epic of the amount of books that we have read. And I love that you have a notebook. I absolutely love it. So I want to give you the floor, and I want you to tell me one of your favorite books or authors and why.
Okay. I am going to start with Maggie Gates. I'm going to steal this one from you. I'm sorry.
Maggie doesn't just belong to me. Maggie belongs to all of us.
Maggie Gates' Dust Storm was the first cowboy romance book that I ever read. And I'm sure there was something on TikTok where someone hooked me in and I was like, damn, okay, yeah, I'll read that. And I reread it this week because I was like, I've just got to reread it just so it's completely fresh in my mind. And I loved Miss Cass. She's from New York, and she's like a PR person, and she's basically putting out fires all the time, and she gets sent to this ranch in Texas, and she is basically being punished for something that she didn't do, but she's accepting her punishment. She's got this god-awful fiance who, he's just useless. And she ends up working on this ranch and meets this cowboy whose actual name has just evaded me. What's his name? I can't remember. Christian Griffith.
Guys, it's the end of my workday, and it's like 4 a.m. where Allie is. So
It's 7 a.m.
that feels
We're not
like
good
4
with time
a.m.
zones.
No, I'm the worst with time zones, apparently. But yeah, so it's Christian Griffith, who we love, by the way. There's so many things I love about him.
I love him because the way she describes him is he's kind of chunky, and he's not like, he's really strong, obviously, because he's a cowboy, but he's got this soft padding to him. And he's got these two girls, and the mum had passed away, like his wife had passed away. It was really sad. So this is like 10 years before. And the girls are just so cute. Like, I don't want kids personally, but wow, those kids are cute. And the way they
so
just
sweet.
I know, they adore her immediately. And she's not a kid person. And I think that resonated with me a lot as well, because she was just very like, she talks to them like adults, and she wants them to stand up for themselves and not just do things because an authority told you. Like, if you think that it's wrong, it's not right to do, blah, blah, blah. And to very much like hold your head up high. And I just loved that. Like, I thought it was just such a wonderful adult-child dynamic that wasn't particularly traditional, because usually it's like, no, you do what you're told if your teacher tells you to do it. And it's like, well, if that's wrong, like, why would I do it? And,
I want to interrupt you for one moment, because I absolutely loved her dynamic with the children. She's giving them that opportunity to be safe as kids with her, but also to have their unique language with her. And I just thought it was so beautiful. But everyone interprets things in their own way and comes from a different place. I think when I think about myself at that age, that's what I would have responded to. Someone speaking to me like they respected me, they trusted me, they really wanted my input. Like, I would have loved that. I just wasn't coddled. So I really love that.
Same.
I'm
in desperate need of it now.
A pickling session. No, I get it. No, but and that's why I just wanted to jump in, because it's so interesting how people come from a different perspective and perceive an FMC. And I think you and I both loved her, and I just loved their dynamic. I loved her relationship with Christian. I thought it was beautiful. And someone could interpret it differently, but I really like the universe Maggie builds, because her FMCs, they're just they're not cookie cutter. They have a lot of depth to them, and I just love how she writes women, which is like I really just enjoy it.
Absolutely. Miss Cass was just brilliant. I just found her so like striking. And what I really liked was that she, even after working at the ranch for a while, she didn't lose any of her like feminine energy. she still was like, I'm going to wear my heels. I'm going to do this. And like when it's appropriate, I'll put the boots on and the jeans on if I have to. But I like wearing my New York clothes. I like wearing my heels. And then when Christian makes the things for her heels so they don't sink into the grass, and he was going to make them for her in every color of her shoes, I was like, just kill me now. I'm going to die. I just
It was so
loved it.
sweet. It was so beautiful. I really loved the dynamic and the world she built
Yeah.
in that specific ranch, that
Yeah.
just that whole family and all the very unique personalities that came out. So that was your first Cowboy
was my
Romance, and it was
first
your
ever.
introduction to Maggie Gates.
Yeah, intro to Maggie Gates. And then I've read some of her other ones as well, where it was the names do evade me because I just read too many things. But anyway, so it was the one with the chef, and then it was the lady who's also like a line chef, and then he comes in. That was one of my favorites of hers. And it was
Fireline?
Fireline. I was like, wow.
It's so good. And she's re-releasing it in March with 2 new chapters, and it will be available in bookstores. And I'm emailing her I literally have an email. Hi, Maggie. I have an email from you in my inbox right now. When we're scheduling that call, but it's so exciting. So she's been re-releasing the books here and adding additional chapters and things like that. So maybe I'll buy that for you and send that to you, because I think that would be really, really nice, because I love this series, and that book was really intense. And I really feel like, yes, it's the cowboy romance, but you're also bringing this other element to it where someone felt very unsafe in their life and moves to this ranch and has a totally different experience with relationships, resources, safety, all of these things. I just thought it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
And the second book, Downpour, was my absolute favorite. I devoured that book. I think it really hit me on like a core level, because it was about people sort of rediscovering their identity as well. You've had this guy who's been on the circuit and he gets hurt, and he's just going through every level stage of grief you could possibly go through, and then having to meet himself all over again and say, who am I as a man? Who am I as a person? Who will I be in a relationship?
Yeah.
And I just thought it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
I kind of fangirl over her a little bit, I have to be honest with you.
I did love that one. I had read that, and I don't think I've read that for a few years. So I was going to reread that, but I just didn't have time for today. But because he is the fun uncle.
He is.
And he loses that identity. That's the one takeaway I took from that book, is that he completely lost that identity. And then the relationship with the nieces, who we adore, that gets really, really tarnished. And the kids are not happy with him because it goes on for so long, and you're almost like, oh my God, please, not with the kids.
Ray, pull it together.
Yeah.
But again, a real story, right? The timeline didn't get, swept up in 3 months. This was a person who their life was basically burned to the ground, and they're trying to rebuild it. And it's really hard to do. I feel like it was very relatable. Even if you didn't relate to what he was going through, you can relate to that loss of identity and feeling like, oh, I'm in this beautiful, safe space. I'm completely supported. I have all the resources I need, and I'm miserable and I can't do it. And I have this loving family. I live in paradise and I hate it, and it was just, I thought it was so relatable. Clearly I've been going through things, but I found him to be completely relatable. And I also loved his FMC, Brooke. And I actually talked to Maggie about this. I loved her because people could almost criticize her of like, oh, she's not super strong. She's not this, she's not that. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's okay to not be tough all the time. It's okay to have been on your own and to be a little worn out by life. I feel like that's actually very relatable. And I love that she and Cassandra had this natural alignment where they really got along and worked together, and you would almost assume that they wouldn't. And so I love when people write women's relationships and it kind of pushes back against the stereotypes. she would only like this type of person. It's like, no, she adores this type of person. So
Yeah. I do think as well in writing now, you are expected to write women who are strong. Like, I think people want to read strong women, but I think there's a real nuance with like being able to write someone who's strong but vulnerable, and or they've been strong for a very long time and actually they need a rest. And I don't think women rest a lot. I don't. I'm exhausted.
do not think women rest a lot. And I would just like to make a little shout out to my two coworkers, Betsy and Lauren, who will eventually listen to this and say that I haven't taken a day off in 4 years. So they will tell you, no, I haven't. They bring it up a lot. They've had heart-to-hearts with me. Lauren has actually hi, Lauren. Lauren has actually spoken to me about it and been like, you need to take time off. And I think that it can be really beautiful when you can see yourself in a character and you can see like, oh, I'm worn out. This character is worn out.
Yeah.
And they're pouring from an empty cup. And what can I learn from that? Versus someone like slapping over the head with the self-help book and being like, 10 steps to relaxing. I just think it can be really interesting to see that in books. And, I want to be loved even when I'm not strong.
Exactly.
I want to be loved when I'm really vulnerable. This last year and a half, this time last year, I was so sick. He had to actually hold me up in the shower. Like I was not strong physically and definitely not mentally. But I'm just saying, like, it's so interesting when we go through those real things in life and you just know that it's like an ebb and flow. Like I'll get my strength back eventually, but I need to kind of store up those resources. Like you have to like sunshine, water yourself, feed yourself, nourish yourself, rest yourself, do all of those things and get that back. It's not just this like endless pool. Maybe it is for other people. I can tell you I do not. I feel like I need to like pour into that. Right?
Yeah, but 4 years, that's a real long time, Casey. You've got to take a day off. I feel like the Americans are different. They are a different breed of workhorse because Europeans are used to our 4 weeks off a year, and that is not nearly enough, right? And I get 4 weeks off a year, but that's not enough for me. It's not. No one should be working that much.
It's not
in
enough
this day
for
and age.
Me. No, it's not enough for me either. And there's no bravado in it either. It's not like I'm pounding my chest and being like, oh, I'm so proud that I think it's terrible. And so I just need to work on that. I did say at one point that my biggest fear was that if I took a day off, I would just wander and never come back. And that was like a secret fear. I would just go like walk about or, have like a pickling fantasy and like move into that direction and just never return.
You're going back to Wyoming for the fourth time.
My partner's been with me for a long time. He's like, I'm actually a little concerned about that too, but I think you should take time off. And I didn't mean to veer us off track, but I do think that I love talking about the different FMCs and kind of our interpretation of them and what we can learn from them. So I love the Griffith Brothers series and that ranch. I'm so excited that Fireline is being re-released and I can't wait to talk to Maggie again. So I think that's a really good first book suggestion for us. All right. Well, I'm going to pivot and I'm going to take you into the world of dark cowboy romance. This is Yellowstone meets 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh my
This
Lord.
is a different type of book. And I am talking specifically about the author Raya Morris Edwards. And she wrote the Sovereign Mountain series. She's been a guest on the podcast a few times. I love her books. And I actually, from what I know about you, Allie, I actually think you would love her books too. I think you are going to
circle that one.
Devour this series. So what do I love about it? Let's jump in right there. She writes these almost timeless stories where you don't have the traditional benchmarks of someone like texting on their phone. This story feels like it could almost take place in the 1940s or it could take place now, which is beautifully done. It's in fictionalized Montana where there's no rules. It's wild. And one of the things I love the most is that every one of the FMCs goes from stressed under-resourced, undervalued, maybe not seen, into a relationship where all of the softness and sweetness she could ever want is brought into her life. And it is significant. And it's a theme throughout all of her books. And the writing is so beautiful. And it is pretty dark, but I actually think you would love it. No, I think you would really, really love it. So yeah,
Okay.
dark cowboy romance. How are we feeling about that, Allie?
I do love a dark romance, and that I do love cowboys, so I think it's going to be a good one to read. Is there anything in particular that, like, could you hook me in?
Oh my gosh.
That's
I
a tough
could
one,
hook
'cause
you in.
I love Yellowstone as
Um,
well, because that's pretty dark sometimes.
It is. I think that Raya does a beautiful job of giving you the internal world of her characters
Ooh.
and making you really empathize with them. Even if their experience is completely different from your own, you feel such a tender connection with these women. And it's beautiful because a lot of them are isolated. The geography of the book is important. And then they are brought into these found families, these homes, these working ranches, and their life gets so much bigger. And they get to connect with other women, and they have these intense relationships with their partners, and they go through things and they process things, processing trauma in ways that are fairly unique, that is not textbook formula based
Ooh.
on where they are. You know, it's
Hello.
not like they can go and see a therapist every week, but they've all been through things. And their partner comes in, and through that, like, love, presence, awareness of who they are as women and connection, they begin to move through their own traumas together. And it's so beautiful. Every time I open one of her books, I am absolutely transported to another world. I will say that.
Bloody hell, yeah, okay.
I
It's on the list.
I honestly feel like you need it on the list. It's so good. And here's the fun part. Every single time she puts out a new book, I think, oh, so this is my favorite. Every single time. She just put out a book called Jensen, and it was in that series as well. And I was like, how could it possibly top the other 3 books? By far and away, my favorite book she's ever written. It was so beautiful, intense, cathartic, just, and it's interesting too how you would almost think, given maybe the dynamics in the book, that these women would not come across as empowered. Like that would not be a big part of their story, but they are. And it's just so beautiful to see them get their agency and feel rooted in their sexuality and not ashamed, and having partners who see all of them. I could talk about it honestly for days. I just know that you will love these books. I can't wait till you pick it up.
Okay, it's on the list for sure. I did have another one that I did really, really enjoy, and it was by Lila Dawes, called Redemption. And I don't know if you've read this one. Did you say
I have
you'd
not read this
No.
one. I've wanted to read this writer, so I need to hear.
So this one was about a guy who goes to prison because he was drunk driving and he killed a woman. And the husband of that woman comes to visit him for himself, and he wants to forgive him. And he was really young at the time. He was maybe like 18 or something, and he goes to prison, I don't know, for like 10 years. I can't remember. But so the guy goes repeatedly to prison, like every month, goes to visit him and kind of almost raises him. And at the beginning, he wouldn't see him. He was too ashamed, and he was like devastated about what happened. And he was too scared to confront the guy. And then eventually he came in, and it wasn't all forgiveness immediately. The guy was really angry, and he was working to find some peace for himself. So when he gets released, the guy tells him, like, you know, come to my ranch. I have something for you. Like, you know, it's been 10 years. I want you to go get on your feet. And I think because his own family were just useless, and that's why this guy was like, God, this poor kid, like he's just had this terrible upbringing. So he goes to the ranch, and the guy hadn't visited him for the last like 3 months. And the reason why is because this is all within the first chapter, so I'm not spoiling anything, but like But the guy died. And it was just like, oh my God. And in the will, he'd left a property for him on the ranch so that he could live there and not have to be in the halfway house and blah, blah, blah. And he has like 4 daughters, and they are furious that the dad did this to them, obviously. The oldest daughter is carrying the load of the ranch and trying to make it work, and it's not working, and they're not making any money, and she's worried for everybody. So she's shouldering all of this burden of trying to keep the youngest in school, and the others are doing odd jobs to pick up money, and then also working the ranch and blah blah blah. So it's all about how they come together, the oldest daughter and the guy that killed the mum, and how the other sisters respond to this as well. So it is a very different story, I feel. Like it's very, very different. And that's what I kind of liked and what stood out about me, because sometimes I do love cowboy romances, and I've read quite a few. This I felt like was such a different storyline. I think I'll remember it forever. And his devotion to her and the entire family was just so wonderful. Like, and even though he'd served his time, he very much felt like, I'll be punished for as long as you want me to be punished. I will sit here and take it. And it was like, fuck. It was very attractive.
Honestly, the stuff you and I find attractive is really worrisome and stressful, because you and I have done a few of these episodes, and every time you say something, I'm like, oh, I'm always like, that would be a good therapy session. I should really talk to someone about that.
Yeah. I think I like it when someone admits that they've done something wrong, and they're like very apologetic, which it shouldn't be something that I should find attractive. Like, I think people should just be able to admit when they're wrong, and me not get, I'm not going to say it, but not get like,
I could into it. But no, I think sometimes in our lives that can almost seem like a paranormal fantasy.
Yeah.
Like somebody actually genuinely apologizing and making amends, because what you're talking about is not just the apology, it's making a living amends and saying, have I harmed you in ways that I'm not aware of? And I'm willing to walk through this with you until you feel better. And I think that that's really beautiful. And it takes sort of a level of maybe like spiritual, emotional intelligence to be able to do that, because all of us have a breaking point where we're like, well, I'm done. I said I'm sorry. Yeah. And, to have a book where someone is devoted, I think that that's really beautiful. No, I'm adding that to my list. I absolutely cannot wait to read that book.
Yeah, I really liked that one. I thought she was very clever the way she did it, and it kind of stood out. Like, I won't forget the storyline or the characters, So.
You know what it just made me think of? I don't know if you've ever seen this. Have you ever heard of The Moth? It's a nonprofit about storytelling where they invite people to talk about a topic, and you craft your story however you would like about it. So I remember I was in LA one time, and I went to see a live recording of it. And total side note, this may not mean anything to you, but Dr. Christina Yang from Grey's Anatomy was sitting next to me in the audience, and I was like, you're the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life. So that happened. But at the same time, Sandra Oh, who I just think she's amazing. So it felt like a magical experience. But so I'm at the Moth. It's this huge storytelling event. And this older man named Hector Black comes on stage, and he's wearing just like a weathered flannel button down and overalls. And he starts telling a story. And I think the topic he was given was heaven and hell. Ooh. And he tells a story about his adoptive daughter being murdered, and him reaching out to the man who was in prison and forgiving him and going and visiting him and talking to him and finding out about his life and realizing what that man had been through and processing his own hurt and healing and having a different experience with forgiveness by doing that. And it was just this really beautiful story. I will send you the link because you will be sobbing. And it's only like a 15-minute story. It's just a stand up. He's in front of a microphone and he just shares his story. I was
And it's
absolutely
true?
devastated. And it's a true story.
Holy
So
shit.
the Moth is all true stories. I will send you a few that I think you would really like because they're so beautiful. Maybe we should just do like a whole episode on that one day
Yeah.
because it's beautiful storytelling. But yeah, that made me think of that. And I really cannot wait to pick up this book because I think it's something I truly would love. I love cathartic relationships.
Yeah, there was a lot of healing, you know, towards the end. Not for everyone, but there was some healing. And I like books that heal you.
Okay, so on the topic of books that heal you, one author that I would really like to talk about is Bailey Hanna. And she wrote the Wells Ranch series. She's been a guest on the podcast several times. And I picked up the first book in the series, which was the first book she had published called Alive in Wells. And I didn't really know what to expect. I tend to kind of go into books. I don't read the triggers. I just kind of dive right in. I was blown away. Bailey Hanna's books take you on an emotional journey. And I remember when I interviewed her, I shared with her, I was like, you know that this book is going to save someone's life, right? That someone is going to read this book and realize that they're in a domestic violence situation because the way you wrote this story, because they've never heard that what this main female character went through was domestic violence because it's socially acceptable. And we had this beautiful conversation about it. She's incredible. You would absolutely love her books, but each of the books talks about these really big life experiences. And I'm not just talking about like external conflict. I'm talking about anticipatory grief because your parent is dying and you know, you're trying to take care of your entire family because you're the overachieving eldest daughter and it's just too much. We're talking about coming out of a domestic violence situation and not feeling like you can even be close to women and not really sure how to connect with that part of yourself. How do you establish safety in yourself? How do you develop trust with another person? Yeah, every single book that she has written in this series has been fire. And I just like, I can't get enough. So now, Allie, she has the final book in the series, Love Wells Kept, coming out this summer. And guess what? It is the story of the brother and the wife who got married when they were very young. So you're almost dismissing them throughout the series of like, oh, well, they've been together forever. But guess what? He gets into an accident, loses his memory, and his entire life with this person is erased. And he has to fall in love all over again and meet her all over again and accept his life all over again, this life that he built that he probably loved, that he maybe doesn't recognize. This is all stuff that is on social media. I'm not giving any spoilers. I know no spoilers. All I know is that I haven't read the book yet, and I absolutely know this will be my favorite Bailey Hanna book ever.
Okay. Do you know what? I always feel like when there's a book where someone loses their memory, and I think, God, if I lost my memory, would I still want the life that I have now? Yeah. And absolutely I would.
That is incredible. Hi, Dom. She would absolutely want the life you have now.
Dominic,
is he in the
you're
background?
not getting rid of me.
Well, do you want to hear something funny? So I told you, you obviously know that I write and I've been writing a lot. And so many of the things in the series I've written are little Easter eggs of my actual life. And last night I told Foster, I told him if I ever lose my, I can't believe we were talking about this last night and you said this today, but if I ever lose my memory, just read me these books. And he's like, well, they're a little traumatic. I was like, oh, but you can point out the things that meant something to us, that something only we would recognize.
Yeah.
But I think that's so beautiful. And I love that question. So if I lost my memory, would I want the life I have now?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I told him this week that nothing that happened in my life before I met him even phases me. And that there was a lot of difficult things that happened, but because it led me to him, it's all okay.
Oh, My God, that's so romantic.
But I truly meant it. I was really thinking about it. It's something that's come up for me a lot, given all the things that are going on that I'm reflecting on. And I really did. I was like, I had a lot of really, really hard moments in life. And I met him when I was older. I met him when I was 36. And you live a full life.
Oh, yeah.
Up until being 36. And none of it phases me. It was all just like okay.
Yeah.
And that's how that feels. So yes, I would choose the life I have now all over again.
Yeah.
That's a good
love
question.
that. Yeah, it is a really good question. And then I think it's very good for self-reflection and saying, okay, but if that did happen, what would I change? Is there anything that I'm just thinking, this is not really what that I like, and why am I allowing this in my space and my time that I don't have a lot of? And so you can kind of adjust when you look at things like that. Like, what would I change?
All right, I need to hear from you. What is the one thing that you would change?
God, that is a really tough question, because that's really tough. It's hard because at the moment we have a very easy life. I feel like we've kind of, when we were in the UK, things were quite hard sometimes, and just in general, financially, where we were living. And now we've moved to Australia, and I love our life here. I love it. So I think I've already done it. I've moved.
I love that. Oh no,
I would maybe be able to go home a little bit more, I think, or maybe I would work less. But I think that's really a timing issue. I think people need to read a few more of my books, and then I can stop working.
And we will talk about that at the end of the episode. I know you like to focus on the topics we're talking about, but we have to touch base on your last release. Well,
sorry, my Alexa just started talking.
She was like, listen, I think Allie should be doing X, Y, and Z. And
I've added the unseen to cart.
I love that. We are now reading After Hours. No, I love that. Well, no. And these are really good questions. I love that you're bringing all of this up. And as I'm thinking about it, I would have been less receptive to other people's unsolicited advice and feedback, because I think I didn't have a lot of hope. Maybe I'm not a person who's organically very hopeful. And so it's very easy to have someone see my joy or my creativity or my desire for something and have them just crush it and be like, oh, well, maybe they're right. They seem really loud. So I think that that's one thing that I would reduce or change. And then in my current life, maybe just less fear.
Yes.
I don't know. I think sometimes that can hold me back, and fear can manifest in very different ways. I'm not waking up terrified, but yeah, you know what I mean? Just fear of saying or doing the thing, or
making a move.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Doing something different. I think that's a really important one. I think that's for me too. And if anything, from writing and self-publishing my books, I think that has really taught me that sometimes things do just work out. And and even if it's not quite as good as you thought it would be, or or maybe it will be, for me, I didn't really expect to have the success that I've had. And I don't think I would have done that had I not had this conversation with my friend where, we talked about before, where she was like, I was more curious than I was scared. And without having that one pivotal moment, which I talked to her about, and she's like, I actually don't even remember saying that. I've thought about it every day, and she didn't remember.
I work with someone, Betsy, and she will literally say something that I've said that I definitely don't remember saying. She's like, no, I've literally thought about that every day. You said that one time, and then I talked about it with my kids, and I'm like, I don't remember saying that. And she's like, no, it was definitely you. But I love that. And guess what? I mentioned that story you told me. I did an episode with Bailey Hannah's PA, Kaylee, because she has her own business and she's very much in the book world. And we were talking about this, and I actually quoted you and mentioned that and said that I've been taking that story with me in 2026 and reminding myself that, I'm definitely more curious than I am scared this year. And I've had a
Yeah.
lot of scary things happen. So I had a friend once tell me, she's like, you've actually had quite a few bad things happen to you. Why are you so scared at this point? She was like,
Yeah.
nothing has killed you. You're like unstoppable. And so at some point you have to not be afraid because you will figure it out, you
Yeah.
know, and trusting in that. Like I look at you and I think, not that it's silly, but I think about you thinking to yourself like, oh, maybe I shouldn't publish this book. I'm like, Allie, what is wrong with you? You're absolutely supposed to be publishing books, right? And that's how silly it can sound. So I'm like, so what's
Yeah.
my silly thing that
Yeah.
I'm talking myself out of? So these conversations are actually really important. So your friend doesn't remember saying it.
No.
And then here I am yapping about it on a
I
podcast
know.
and telling
we're
someone
talking
else
and
about
spreading
it.
the good word.
Who's going to tell someone
that's
else?
her. Her energy's out in the world, and she doesn't even realize the impact that she's having. Like it genuinely has changed my life. Like it's changed my entire way I look at myself and you know my own abilities. Like how incredible that I can put that down to having one conversation with someone, and she's just out there sprouting so much wisdom that one didn't even occur to her to remember. And I'm like, girl, you should write a book.
Incredible.
Like,
And I'll show you how to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I feel like I've dragged you so off track, but I want to talk about someone that
we're
you and
talking about
I,
cowboys.
we're talking about cowboys. Talking about cowboys and Grey's Anatomy and Dr. Christina Yang. I mean, all of it makes sense. So let's get back on track because there was one book, one writer, one series that you and I both had written down, and I think we almost had like hearts around it. I'm going to say it. Jessica Peterson, the Lucky River Ranch series. Cash. Let's just do it. Allie, let's talk about it.
Yeah. I loved this book so much. I thought it was so good because they were so at odds at the beginning. And I was really rooting for him. Which is usually I'm like, nah, I'm rooting for the girl. But I thought he was just so in it for his family and his own, like all the hard work he'd been putting in. And, you know, and it was kind of hard because she came in and was like, she just inherited this ranch where she'd never grown up there. She'd never worked it. She didn't like, you know, she was kind of estranged from her dad. So I did kind of feel super bad for him at the beginning, but she has her own dreams. And I thought I really liked that too, that he didn't try and, even when, you know, things developed, he wanted her to embrace that dream. He didn't want to like, and there's the parallel with the parents. And I really liked it. I just thought it was a wonderful, wonderful example of when men support women. And it's not like, oh, well, this is what's going to put food on the table. This is what we're going to do for now. And you can put your dreams on hold. Nah. That's not the way Cash does it. Cash is like, no, I'm going to find a way that you can do this and be with me.
And also, it made his life better.
Yeah.
So when men support women and then they have the epiphany that it has changed their entire life too. And I did think it was so beautiful. And I loved the tension between them and how they had to kind of work around it. And there's just so many things about him as a character that I really loved. There's that scene where he's outside the bathroom door and she's taking a bath, right? Do you remember that scene?
No.
I thought that was really beautiful. And it's okay if you don't remember. For some reason, I think that I loved that scene. Like she had a really hard day on the ranch or something. And so he lets her take a bath and he's sitting in the hallway and they're having a conversation through the door. I loved that. It felt really intimate. It just felt like one of those things that it's not sort of the social media intimacy that we've seen. It's stuff that happens in real life. Like the amount of conversations that have happened in this house in a shower. I mean, huge decisions have been made in the shower. And I think about that. Or like when we're cooking dinner, you know, just the romance of daily life and allowing someone into your space in your home and seeing that. I think that that's really, really beautiful.
Yeah. So. I love it. It's quite cleansing, I think. Like, especially with like the washing away of everything else goes. And then you've just got the thing that you need to talk about. And then that's it. Nice.
Yeah. Some of that armor that we carry around that we don't even realize is armor, whether it's like makeup or we're done up or jewelry or clothes or attitude. And then when you're kind of stripped down, I feel like there's something really beautiful. And it's not forced. It's like pretty organic.
You're
Yeah.
literally naked. Yeah.
Literally.
Emotionally
conversations,
and literally
emotionally.
naked.
All versions of it. And it's all, rising to the top. So I'm so glad we talked about Jessica Peterson because that was in Texas. This series is really beautiful. I have to catch up on some of the books, but I think she's an incredible writer and I love her stories. So,
And I did like the mum element where the mum had left the dad. I thought that was very sad, and she was very protective of the daughter not falling into this life that was going to make her unhappy. And I don't think the mum was a nice character per se, but I do think that her intentions were good. And I think, and then also she had that growth, and at the end where she was like, "Oh, you're gonna be good for her," and I was like, "Yes, mum's had growth. I love that."
we love to break a good generational curse.
Yes,
we love when we do
exactly.
that. And there's individuation, and mom is not enmeshed. All right, so that was the one that we definitely had in common. I know that there's a few others. Can you mention another author or book series that you love?
Obviously, there's a big one we haven't mentioned, and that is Elsie Silver. I loved her series,
Chestnut Springs.
Chestnut Springs, and I particularly liked the one with the bull rider and Winter.
I had it written down that we had to talk about Reckless.
Yeah,
I am
Reckless,
so
that's it.
excited.
Yeah.
Thank you for reading my mind. I'm so excited.
We're so in tune. It's unbelievable. I really liked Summer, but I did feel like the parent dynamic with the Summer, Winter, and the dad and the mum and blah, blah, blah. It was so tricky. And I don't think the dad or the stepmom for Summer, but did a good job at all. And Winter got the shit end of the stick in everything. I just felt like she was so alone and she was just forgotten and treated like a pawn all the time. And I was like, I actually feel so bad for this person. She can't rely on anybody. And her dad is hopeless. And he's obviously just put so much attention and time into Summer. And the fact that they're Summer and Winter, I'm sure someone pointed it out, and one of the characters pointed it out, who would do that just to their children?
Her dad. Her dad would do that because he's terrible and he's not paying attention to anything that happens to either of his daughters, which is also can be sadly relatable where, things can happen in plain sight in front of parents and they're just sort of in their own worlds. I love that was the book that stood out to you in that series too, because it really, I loved all the stories, but like you're saying, there were so many things about their story that was the first book of hers I ever read, now that I'm thinking about it.
Really?
Yes. There's so many things about it that I just seeing the blurb, I was like, oh, this is perfect for me. This will heal me.
Yeah.
So this is good.
You love a pregnancy trope, don't you?
I love a good accidental pregnancy. I am possibly the only person on the planet who truly seeks that out in stories. I absolutely love it. I was going to do a whole solo episode on that and what is wrong with me and why I like it. I absolutely want to get into the psychology of it because I think it's very healing for certain people. It's triggering for other people, which I also will acknowledge. And that in the landscape that we're in today, for a lot of reasons, that's a really stressful topic. For me, it was really healing. I loved their story, but I also loved that she was older because I am in that situation too. And I really liked that.
Yeah.
And why that works and why some people don't understand why that works sometimes.
Yeah.
But what's the line from the book? Miss Independent treats her like a princess and she's freaking out is sort of the summary of the book.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's just so beautiful.
The way he showed up and stood up and was like, as soon as he finds out, that's it. His whole life has changed and he's more than happy to do it immediately. There was no hesitation and he just adores her. And I think she just struggled so much with feeling like the rug was going to be pulled from under her. And I actually resonated with that so much, like, because Dom is such a loving person. And I think I found that when we first got together, I actually found that so hard because I didn't feel particularly lovable. And I didn't feel like I was a person that deserved that kind of love. So it took me like years to be like, oh, this isn't going away. This is him showing up all the time. And that's why I think this resonated with me so much, because I was like, holy hell, like, this is me. I just don't have a baby. Like, and Dom's
I will
like,
never
just
have a
happy
baby.
as can be.
No, I get that. And one of the other things that really stood out to me about this story is that maybe because it, so many elements of it, like almost like affirm my own story, where sometimes I see the criticism that like, oh, love at first sight, that never happens. These books are so ridiculous. And I'm just like, well, let me tell you a story about...
Let me tell
you the craziest story. There's, I've never read a book as crazy as my own story. And I love that. I loved how it sort of gave a platform, or like maybe invited you to look at what it's like for someone who, when and when you just can see a person who everyone else can't see. Even in that first sort of scene, it's not the first scene in the book, but they're at the dinner table. And then after dinner, they're all hanging out. And you have Theo's internal monologue. And he's just like, oh, I see her retreating. Like the whole room is everyone's talking, engaging. And she's just like going into herself. And he could see that right away. And the other element that I thought you just pointed out was the adoration. And adoration is a very specific thing that almost nothing this person can do irritates you, turns you out. Like you just adore them. It's a very specific energy. And when you've experienced it, you kind of just don't want anything else. Because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And it's very healing too, I have to be honest with you.
Everything he did, I was just like, this was such a well-written character. And I like that because her dad was his publicist. I think that's the right word. And he's like, I'm not going to say what happens, but when he finds out and he storms in and he just talks shit to the dad.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, yes, this was just so healing. Like, I just loved it. He was like, I don't give a shit what you think about me, but I'm not going to say what it is. But just for that scene alone, people should read this book.
Oh, and he had a beautiful relationship with his mother. And the way she responded to Winter when she met her.
Yes.
All of it was so beautiful. And you could see that he'd had that, and it translated into how he showed up in relationships in his life, where certain things just weren't hard for him. It felt really natural. It was just so beautiful. I loved that book. I've actually read it more than once because
it's a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece.
It is. Yeah. It's a masterpiece in writing. I love it. Loved it so much. If you don't like the surprise accidental pregnancy trope, you will if you read this one. I'm putting that out there.
She wanted a baby. So there's something to be said for that, where someone who is on a pregnancy fertility journey and really wanted a baby. And I think it's one of those stories about almost kind of like what you said earlier, like things working out. Yeah. And you have no idea how they're going to work out, but they were working themselves out. And that doesn't happen for everyone. So it's a very healing, beautiful book if that's a pain point for you. And, you really do want that. Okay, so one of my favorite things about us doing these episodes is that you have the most elite book recommendations. So I've devoured everything that you have mentioned on any episode you've ever done with me. And I thank you for it. So I'm trying to give you a gift, and I'm going to give you a few more authors that I really like in this space who are writing in this genre. So Lyla Sage is a beautiful writer. I think that you would love her stories. It's the Rebel Blue Ranch novels.
Yeah.
I think you'd like them. It's Done and Dusted, Lost and Lassoed, Swift and Saddled.
Already read.
Already read, of course. Yep. I love that I read your mind. No, that's beautiful. And then another writer who I really enjoy is Ava Hunter. She wrote this beautiful story called Tame the Heart, and I think you would love it. And again, it's one of those stories that does stand out because it has those extra layers of depth and weight and texture to the story. I think you will love Charlie. And he's almost more of like a more small town country rustic than cowboy, but there's cowboy elements in there. So I would definitely say Ava Hart as a writer, you would really, really enjoy her. And then another one I read recently was Brooke Montgomery. And I really liked her. She had really fun energy in her writing, and the tone was a little bit different than the other books, but that was good. And there's probably 50 more people that I could list because all I did for the last 2 years was read as I was recovering. So I have a whole list of these things, and we could probably do a cowboy part 2 episode.
Yeah,
But
probably.
those were some gems I wanted to leave you with before you and I pivot to our designated cowboy adjacent books that we would like to mention. Our honorable mention, because they're not like strictly cowboy, but kind of in the genre, but we didn't want to close the episode without talking about them. So Allie, you have the floor.
Okay. This might anger some people, so apologies, because I know these aren't cowboy romances, but I feel like if a man rides a horse once in the book, then it is a cowboy romance. So normal people don't have horses. I'm just putting that out there. So my series, which I adored, is The Bourbon Boys by Victoria Wilder. And you've got Bourbon and Lies, Bourbon and Secrets, and Bourbon and Proof. And holy moly, they were incredible. Like, and I don't know, because Dawn works in a distillery. So for me, I actually loved that she got all the details right. And I used to work in a distillery. So I loved that all the details were correct. I love all the elements of what she's talking about and the way she talks about whiskey and how it's like, it's very romantic when you talk about whiskey. And also there is some play with whiskey that is smoking hot. Oh my God. Like, it is so good. And I think the three brothers, they're very different people. They have very different roles and responsibilities. They are not cowboys, but they kind of are cowboys. I loved it. It was so good. It was incredible. I love a rugged man. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
You know what I mean.
Yeah. No,
They're a bit rough.
I do. I don't know if you've seen him, but
Actually haven't.
You haven't?
No.
No, I know he's not here right now. It's so funny. I did tell him if he got home from work early that I would be talking to you and he should come and say hi, but he never comes home from work early. So that was wishful thinking on my part. But no, I love that. And I do think it's important to talk about the cowboy adjacent series because, like you said, normal people don't have horses. And so what category can we put these in? Well, have I got one for you? And that is Roughing It by Albany Archer. And Albany was also a guest on the podcast. And I probably almost freaked her out with how much I loved her book and how much I talked about it. I think I was remembering things she might have forgotten in the book. And I was just like, just everything from the structure of the book, in that you're opening the book into this high stakes moment of not crisis, but decision making. And then the rest of the book is everything that led up to that moment. So the structure alone was incredible. I love when a book in chapter 1 just has you emotionally hooked. And you know about these characters without knowing their whole backstory, just how you drop into the space with them. I think that's beautiful writing. So this book, it's Blakely and Hudson. And Blakely's an influencer and Hudson has sort of like this outdoor company. And she gets this deal to have an influencer trip for about 30 days in the wilderness with him. And he has to teach her everything. And she is immune to learning how to survive in the wilderness. And it's this beautiful story. But there's an undercurrent, obviously. Like that's just what's going on in the day to day. But it's also about this person who is not 21 years old. She's an older character. He's an older character coming to terms with what have they been running from in life and what do they want to run towards? Yeah. And I think that that's really relatable at that time in your life when you have the experience, but you also still have the opportunities. So you can make those changes. It's almost like what you said earlier when you were like, oh, if I woke up in my life today and I didn't remember, would I still choose it? And so these two get to look at each other and say, oh, would I choose this? What am I going to do moving forward? And how comfortable do I feel being my authentic self? And do I even know my authentic self? Oh, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it.
Because I did
Yeah.
read this one after I listened to that podcast.
You did?
Yeah. I was like,
That
I
makes me
love
so happy.
the way you guys spoke and the way you spoke about reading it. I was like, I have to read this. And I did love it. And I love an influencer story where they go into an unknown environment and how do they approach this when they're usually so transparent about their life and like what they're doing to a point, and it's all kind of like structured and like filtered, and then they're in this environment where you just can't really do that, and then you become, you know, you have to learn how to respond to things because you've never had this kind of experience before. And
I loved it.
He did a lot of learning too, I think.
He did a lot of learning and growing, and almost like resisting the adoration.
Oh yeah.
Because it's also like when love walks in and it doesn't really look like what you thought it would for either of them. But I also think it's like a little more challenging for him because he's like, one, I'm having a hard time keeping this girl alive in the wilderness for no good reason. Like, it's like the worst influencer trip ever. But then also just realizing, I think that beautiful intersection of being in your 30s and realizing that, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And it's a little more complicated than it is when you're younger. I'm not saying it's not complicated when you're young, but I'm just saying when you have businesses and commitments and you have an identity or you feel like you belong somewhere. So this book was a real stripping down. And that's what I loved about the cold open, is that they're completely stripped down, raw, emotional, intense in this cold open. You're like, what is going on in this book? And then it pivots to like 30 days before when life looked completely different. You're like, how did these two get there? And that's the art of storytelling. It's why Albany is such a beautiful, just incredible writer. And I also feel like she really loves and this is going to sound a little weird, but like loves and trusts her women characters. And I love that. When someone's like, I don't have to make you a caricature of yourself or try to make you likable. I can just share this character and you will like her because she's just raw and vulnerable and real, and you have to peel back some of the layers. And I think sometimes that's confronting, right? Like we see a character in a book and it's almost like the thing that we're running from, whether it's our authenticity, whether it's trust, whether it's finding our voice, and we're like, oh, they're so irritating. And you're like, it's because I'm literally going through that thing right now.
This is me. And if I met me, I would hate me.
I would really have a hard time liking myself. And so I loved that she wrote this character that was at a crossroads and was running from certain aspects of her life. I actually really related to a lot of it, which is kind of weird because I'm not good on social media, but I think more of the maybe running from different parts of your life.
Yeah.
And you can't run fast enough or they won't come to the surface, because they will. And it's like, how do I approach them when they come up? And she had this really grounded energy when it finally all came to the surface, and she wouldn't have had that energy if she'd been in her life. So, I just love the two of them. And she calls him Bear. Oh my God.
I love nicknames.
I loved it. I don't know what's wrong with
nicknames
me.
in books.
Hudson was a great name. And then she calls him Bear.
Yeah.
And he's a little difficult, and I actually kind of like that too.
Oh, he's an arse. He's an absolute arse.
He's working through a lot. He's growing. He's opening up. He's warming up. All of those things. I think when she falls into the water, he kind of comes around of like, wow, I'm really actually not doing a great job at keeping her alive. And I feel like it was a really good turning point for the two of them. So yeah, no, I love that we've done this topic and we covered some of our favorite writers and books. And by the way, everyone, Allie picked this topic. This was great. I loved it that we got to come together and share everything that we've been reading, because I need to read Lila Dawes. Like, I absolutely have.
I've got a list. So, do you know what's
what
funny?
I'm excited for? No, wait a second. I feel so bad. We talked over each other at the same time. You tell me what's funny.
Okay, I was gonna say I told my writing group in Sydney here. I was like, oh, I'm doing this podcast with my friend Casey, and like, we're gonna talk about cowboy romances. And one of the girls is from like Outback, Australia. Maybe not Outback, but like she's from the bush, and you know, it's very cowboy. And she's like, I can't read cowboy. And I was like, oh, why? And she goes, because I know cowboys. She goes, these books, no, not even close. They're idiots.
Oh, I love that. Well, it's the same. It's the reason I can't read like rock star romances because I'm like, I've literally like been on tour and like it's very different. And like once you hear someone come off stage and complain about how the wires were laid out on stage and that's all they talk about for the next 3 hours, you don't stop being in love with the person, but you don't see it the same way. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I guess we all have our thing, and I love it. Thank you for sharing with your group. I'm kind of jealous. I wish I had a writing group.
Oh,
That's
do you know,
really
I've
nice.
only just joined. I joined in August, so I've been to like 3 or 4 now. But yeah, it's really nice to have a group that we can all share stuff with and share experiences. And it's nice because we're all at very different stages. Like some people have published loads of things. They've been traditionally published. Some are self-published like me. And then there's people that are just writing their first. So it's all like different stages. It's really nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm sure that I'd buy you, you'll have one, I reckon.
I need to look into it.
Yeah.
I definitely need to look into it. And I think now that I will, because we talked about it, and I'm sure something will pop up. But what I was thinking is I absolutely cannot wait. And I actually want an email from you when this happens. When you pick up Raya Morris Edwards' Sovereign Mountain series and you start reading it, I want the email. And I'm not like a big person on like, I need to know I was right. Like I actually don't need that validation a lot, but I just need it from you when you read this book.
Okay. I'm gonna download it today. I think that's gonna be a weekend one.
Oh, it'll
It's
be
nearly the
tonight.
Weekend now.
It'll
You will download it immediately.
You will download it and it will
and
be
read
done.
it now.
But I also do want to dedicate a few more minutes because I know you actually have to leave pretty soon. But the last time we talked, your book, After Hours, was about to drop. And I remember that I was telling you I was going to read it that night and I couldn't wait. Allie, I devoured this book. I loved it so much. You've had 2 books published in the last few months. What has that been like for you with After Hours?
It has been so crazy. Like, honestly, I feel like the whole experience of just self-publishing, like the 2 books, so the Unseen is still doing like crazy well. Like January for me, it's just been wild. I don't know if something happened or if someone posted about it, but it's just gone like crazy. Like I'm getting so many messages and they're all just so wonderful, and it's just been such a wonderful experience. So I feel like if people are worried to self-publish or anything like that, like just give it a go. Like, you get really nice messages from people. If you need constant validation like I do, it's great. But After Hours has been a lot of fun, and people love Dr. Alfie and the story and like just how he's just a bit of an idiot, and he's actually a really smart guy, but not really. Like, which I think is
loved him. Him and his slutty little glasses and his dirty little mouth. I loved everything about him. His like very problematic way of dealing with patients.
Yeah.
There was nothing this man could do that I did not enjoy. Allie loved it. And I hope that everyone else is giving that feedback because he was such a good character.
Thank you so much. I did love him, and I loved Mia as well. Like I feel like she was just unhinged, and yeah. But so the third one's with the editor now. So that's going to be Katie and Jonesy's like enemies or disliked lovers. So yeah. That's
I'm
and
so
I actually think that's the
excited.
best one I've written. Which is just yeah. I don't know. She might come back and be like, this is not good. But I really like it.
No. We're not feeling that way. I feel like I get your writing and I like get these characters, and I have no doubt that you are correct in this. And I can't wait to come back and specifically talk about that book. But I'm definitely going to have you come back and we're going to talk about another like genre specific episode. And I will make sure to put a list of all the writers
Yes.
in the show notes. And if you enjoy my conversations with Allie, just know she's done quite a few episodes with me. You can always go back. She does not talk about her own books, even though I try to force her to talk about them. She talks about everyone else's books, but you actually really get to know her, and her books are incredible. So I will put Allie's information in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
Allie, thank you so much for waking up and spending your morning with me.
You're so welcome.
Really love this.
I would do this every week. You know that. I've told you this. I'm like, I enjoy this so much. I feel so revived afterwards as well. I'm like, I'm going to take the day and it's just going to be my bitch. Like, I just love it. I get so happy and excited after these conversations. Yeah.
Well, I meant when I said earlier, like this was the thing on my calendar that I was like, I just have to get to Thursday afternoon. And if I can survive, then I get to have my conversation with Allie and all will be okay. So we're going to close the episode with that because apparently that's how we feel after a big yap session about cowboys. So, Allie, I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Nice to see you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Love Letters and Books, a podcast for anyone who loves a good story. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow, rate, and review this podcast on your favorite listening platform. You can find me on both Instagram and TikTok at Love Letters and Books. And if you're interested in being a guest on Love Letters and Books, suggesting your favorite author, or just want to write in an original love letter to yourself or someone else to be read on air, please send me an email at lovelettersandbookspodcast@gmail.com.